mere Greek alphabets. Neither are they radioactive processes, but now, more importantly, they are the names of COVID-19 variants that are troubling the world, including Ghana. Well, there is a cause for concern because it is now official. Ghana is experiencing a third wave. And what has to be done by government, by scientists, by you and I, as we look at how the country can beat the third wave and how to arrive at the overarching zero active goal. This is the discussion in this session of Good Afternoon Ghana here on Metro Television with me, Sandra Ofosu Dawonu. We go for a breather. When we come back, I will introduce my guests to you.
The search for a reliable partner in deal have available the sale of Camel car batteries, Weichai and Kia spare parts, Zonton coaches and light duty vehicles for everyday movement. Contact us on info@saautomobilegh.com or visit our website at www.saautomobilegh.com. SA Automobile, the pleasure of doing business with you is all ours.
Welcome wherever you are on Planet Football.
You can go anywhere in the world, but nobody feels football like we do.
There's no feeling like that feeling!
It's a rhythm that moves us.
A wild celebration!
The 90 hours banter before the 90-minute game.
Tony is very lucky that his father is a better person than Ole.
It's football or nothing.
Had a look, had a hit! Oh! What a finish!
Football. Le football.
Soccer.
Goal of a lifetime!
Wallon Kafa.
Splendid football. Put the champagne on ice. Not done yet!
Nothing beats that.
Nothing compares to DSTV's unbeatable football offering. So stay connected to watch the best football on the planet.
All right, so welcome to this edition of Good Afternoon Ghana with me once again, Sandra Ofosu Dawonu. So it is official, COVID-19 is in its third wave in Ghana. What are the figures as put out by the President of the Republic? So as of the last 10 weeks ago, when he addressed the nation on the 25th address for COVID-19 cases in the country, he had mentioned that active cases at the time was 1,314. That is 10 weeks ago, with a total death count of 783. Now, the total case count at the time was 92,460. As of the time the President gave the address, that was last night, the figure he had was 4,094 active cases. Now, this figure is about triple what was previously given 10 weeks ago. Triple 10 weeks ago. And the death toll had climbed to 819 with a total case count of 101,170. As of July 23, the case count is now 4,521 active cases with 823 deaths. So some 4 more deaths from the figure the president gave from the 21st to the 23rd. And now the total case count of COVID-19 cases in the country stands at 102,103. So Ghana has surpassed the 100,000th COVID-19 case count in the country. So you would agree with me that even as the country awaits the supply of Pfizer vaccines and other vaccines from developed countries to help us battle this pandemic, it is in the right direction if the president should say that there is a committee in place to help the country try to put together our own vaccines. How feasible is this? I've had this information before. Sometime in March, I had the privilege to interview Director of Noguchi in the person of Professor Annan, and he hinted of that way back in March. And we are in July, almost at the end of the month, and the president has hinted this again. Does Ghana have what it takes to manufacture our own COVID-19 vaccines? This afternoon, to help us with this conversation on the coronavirus state in the country, we have been joined via Zoom by the president of the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, Benjamin Kwame Boche. He has joined us via Zoom. We would also have joining us pretty soon a senior research fellow with the Department of Immunology at the Noguchi Memorial Institute of Medical Research, University of Ghana, in the person of Dr. Kwejo Asamoah Kusi. Later on, we would also have the privilege of the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kuma Abuaje. We would also be joined by a senior lecturer from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in the person of Dr. John Amuesi. But for now, let's start with Benjamin Kwame Boche from the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana. Welcome to Good Afternoon, Ghana, gentlemen.
Yeah, good afternoon.
All right.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for joining us too. Yes. Let me start with you, Benjamin Boche. What does it take for a pharmaceutical company to manufacture a vaccine?
Well, a number of things.
Okay.
And it begins with what research information is available. That would form the basis for whatever production to go on. The second one is to be able to formulate the results from the research products into research material into a product that is usable and marketable. The third thing is to get the plant, the equipment, and so on that to be used. And if I say that, I mean like appropriate equipment properly and specifically designed for the purpose. Then you go into the systems that you will build, production systems, quality assurance systems.
Okay.
And most important of all, the human resource. Not just any human resource, but very well trained human resource.
Okay.
That one can do this. So these are some of the ingredients that are expected to form the basis for manufacturing.
All right. So presently in Ghana, would you say we have what it takes to manufacture vaccines?
I have said it previously in a number of opportunities that I've gotten.
Okay.
And I was highly excited by one of the things that the Presidential Committee is thinking about, and that is breaking the bulk, contract manufacture for now. If you ask me, I would say that for now, we can put our fingers on one or two companies in Ghana that may have the infrastructure for bulk breaking or repacking of bulk products into usable unit forms that can be used, and that is the first step to take before we think about backward integration as well as even forward integration to make sure that we have the whole chain covered. All
right. I have little knowledge about the Veterinary Services Directorate in Ghana having a lab in Pong Tamale where they have had some vaccine manufacturing for animals. Newcastle, which is a viral disease for cattle, they have done vaccines in Pong Tamale. Do you foresee any collaboration with such an institution because of One Health, that phenomenon where we don't really separate human health from animal health, from environmental health? We are able to kind of share these kind of facilities and all. Do you foresee the need for there to be a collaboration with such an institution as the VSD?
Yeah, obviously there's the need for that level of collaboration, and maybe as the discussion goes on, we may be talking about cross-sectoral and intersectoral collaborations in this matter. In my first statement, I began with the issue of research, and I believe the veterinary services started with a lot of research, and maybe research geared towards mainly veterinary vaccination. But it can be done. I mean, it is possible, and I think the other researchers who come on board would be in a position to assist in this. But I would say that I do not know the volumes that have been produced at the moment, and whether they are in scale up. So if there's nothing like that, then collaboration with industry, the big pharma, pharmaceutical manufacturing industries can lead to that type of scale-up that you would expect in this process.
Okay, let me bring into the conversation the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumabwaje. He has just joined us. Good afternoon, Doctor, and welcome to Good Afternoon Ghana on Metro TV.
Good afternoon.
Thanks
I just joined, so I didn't hear much of what was said. Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. Let's delve a little bit into the president's address last night, in which he put out some figures there. Well, we've had the opportunity to learn from history that usually third waves of such pandemics of such nature are usually deadlier or deadliest as compared to the first and second. Did we do ourselves a disservice by not learning from history so that we let our guards down, and the third wave, which has officially been pronounced by the president, has kind of tripled the number of active cases as compared to the last 10 weeks when he gave us an update?
Thank you very much. I think, yes, to some extent, in terms of adherence to protocols, and we were not adhering so much to the protocol, so that also may give us some vulnerability.
Okay.
Of course, in this area, there's also been the new variant that has come in, that has worsened it. And remember, this is a pandemic.
Yeah. And
so we are also affected by what happens in other countries, your neighboring countries, etc. And so there's so much that you can also do. What we can do is to either delay it, just like we did, because I think it happened in many countries in Africa long before it got here.
Okay.
And how long are we able to work to sustain it? And we still have the opportunity to make sure you shorten the wave and also make it last shorter. I think so. We still have an opportunity. Some of these things is not so much in your hands as a country alone because of the nature that we are the disease.
Tell us a little bit about this third wave. How different is it from the second wave in terms of the patients that are now in intensive care units, the need or requirement for them to be on oxygen or ventilators? How different is the dynamic of this third wave?
Well, we just in the wave, and currently, remember, we are better prepared now than we were in January, February, March. That's for a fact. Secondly, at the initial stages, we have also noticed that the caseload is not as high as we had somewhere in February and March. But that is also depends on what we do as far as our prevention is concerned. If we don't do the public health issues of isolation, contact tracing, and especially the risk communication aspect, and also adherence to protocols, if the numbers go very high, obviously, once you have a certain percentage that will be sick, you're going to have a large number. But for now, the numbers are high. It's not, one can say that it's not as bad as it was in January, February. But that is only for now. We don't know what is going to happen next week. But a lot also depends on us, on how we behave in the next few weeks.
Doctor, if you say the number is not as bad and if also we are better prepared, how is it that within a spate of about 10 weeks, the number of active cases has kind of tripled from 1,314?
Well, if you look at the last phase, we are around this time. We have got all the way to 8,000 plus as active cases. Number one, we also started with having about 25, 30, 50 cases. So when you start reporting the high numbers, over 2 weeks, you also have more people recovering. And so the steep is not going to be, for active cases, not going to be as high as it is in the beginning when you are moving from 100 to 200 to 300. So that's how it's going to be. But generally, our hope and how they were working towards ensuring that we don't have the high numbers that we got in the second wave. And because of the vaccination, that may also be helping in terms of the number of people who are seriously falling sick, even though the numbers relatively are high compared to what we had about 4 or 3 weeks ago.
How then would you explain the bit that says the third wave has a recovery rate on the decline? How do you explain that?
Well, where did you get out from? Is it I don't think, you see, the recovery technically is the number of deaths from those who were infected, right? Now, I explained to you that that is inaccurate to just say that, because if 10 days ago I had 100 cases and 10 days and today I'm reporting 400 cases, the number of recoveries in 2 weeks is going to be the small number you had. But that's a transient stage. It's not the real fact of recovery. Okay, so I know there's something floating around, but that is not what the president read. So that is inaccurate. I'm sure
that phrase is actually lifted exactly from
the recovery is.
That phrase is actually lifted exactly from the president's statement. It is lifted.
The one he said, or the one from where?
From the president's statement from last night.
Yeah,
anyway.
But okay. Let me explain to you.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. How do you explain that?
The number that recovers, you recover, 100 people get positive today. If nobody dies, 100 recovers in 2 weeks' time, right? Yes. If 400, you have a positive case of 400 today, depending on the number of people who die, after the end of the day, those who recover will still be the number. So it's neither here nor there, but I don't think that the decline, if you look at the curves earlier on, you see that at the end of the day, you look at the actual recovery and then those who have died. So I don't think it's a big issue that one should look at. It's a transient thing based on the current nature of this virus that we normally do the recoveries 2 weeks from the time you got positive. If it's still not.
What is the current state of intensive care units in the country?
Well, I mean, the last time we checked, we've had some high numbers. Over the weekend, I think we had about 7 of them in intensive care in at the Ghana East and the Ghana Infectious Disease Center.
Okay.
About 15 cases were then at the Ridge Hospital.
Okay.
The last Ashanti region had a capacity for total bed space of about 45. They had about 24 cases.
Okay.
So it varies. Depends on every day how many are discharged and how many new cases come in.
Okay. Of this, these figures you've just put out, are you able to tell how many of these have been infected by the present Delta variant? Are you able to tell?
I wouldn't. We only do periodic sampling for cases for sequencing. So you'll not be able to tell who has this, and you don't know everybody who has what. We just do sampling to see what is the prevalence. So we don't do sequencing for every patient who is positive. So I'll not be able to answer that.
Okay, that's fine. But again, are you able to tell?
We have a way. Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
We have a way of calculating. That's why we can tell you the proportion based on the sampling of the positives who are Delta, Alpha, or Beta.
Okay. Okay. Again, are you able to tell out of these ICU patients, those who have been vaccinated previously, who've received their first and second jabs or just the first jabs, who have come back with this reinfection?
The case management team, hello?
Yes.
The case management team continue to work out, take that information and periodically update it. When the report is ready, it will be shared as to that information, who is vaccinated. But the initial anecdotal information we have is that the larger number of them, most of them are unvaccinated. There's more towards those who are unvaccinated who are getting very sick.
This is quite alarming, don't you think?
Well, I mean, we are all worried. We have a higher number of cases across the country. People are sick. Yes, we are all worried. But that's the more reason why we must all join together and make sure that we do all the preventive measures that will not take us into a stage where our ICU beds are full. If we don't do the right things, no matter how many ICU beds you have, it will be full. And all your beds will be full. And we have seen it happen in many of the most advanced countries. With all who has all the resources, and so basically that's what we are talking about. So we all have that. We all have a role to play in ensuring that we don't get to where we don't want to get to.
Okay, my next question. I know you might have answered this question over and over in the past couple of days, but I will still ask. I want to find out whether government has specific timelines to receive new vaccines. We are told in the third quarter. Third quarter is quite broad. Kindly help us. Third quarter, middle of third quarter is August. Any specific timelines?
Well, I always keep saying that the media also has a role. And I'll keep saying it. You have an idea, I'm sure you are very clear about the challenges globally we have for getting vaccines, especially for countries like ours. I see foreign media advocating for support for Africa and other countries to get vaccines. But we don't see that coming from our media. And I think that's before I answer the question, that's a role that the media must also start playing an advocacy role to ensure that people get to know that we also need vaccines. Yes. So to answer your question, you know the challenges we have. We can only tell you exactly what, for example, COVAX or whoever is supplying us tell us. That will get you maybe by the end of the month. But like the president said, later by middle of August, we should be able to get some Pfizer and AstraZeneca for distribution. But as soon as, just like we normally do, as soon as we have a very indicative date that is coming, we will be put out there and everybody will know.
Okay, so there's no very specific and indicative date, as you are saying. So then, would the quest to vaccinate about 20 million adult population in the country still stand by the end of 2021? How feasible is that?
I think you heard the president say it. It is feasible. And let's make this more of a discussion, not an interrogation. It's saying...
I'm sorry if you feel it's an interrogation. Anyway, let's go on.
That's an interrogation.
Anyway, let's go on.
Okay, now, if we have the vaccines, of all the assessments, all the requests we've made, all the deposits we made for AU, for Johnson & Johnson,
yeah.
Once they also meet their end of the agreement, we should be able to do it. Ghana, the EPI, the Ghana Health Service, had the capability to deploy vaccines at top speed. In the midst of COVID in 2020, we gave 6 million vaccines in 4 days.
Okay.
If we have 20 million vaccines today, I can assure you that in 20 days, it will be deployed. It is across the country. What we have been doing 200,000-300,000 a week is basically because we're working in 43 districts. And so if we are going all the 260 districts where we have teams everywhere, now we have the cold chain facility for every vaccine in the districts and in the regions.
Okay.
We can deliver the vaccines even if we get it in the 1st of December. We can finish it before the end of the year. So the president's promise will stand.
Let me bring more of our guests into this conversation now. We also have Senior Research Fellow with the Department of Immunology at the Noguchi Memorial Institute of Medical Research, University of Ghana, Dr. Kwejo Asamoah Kusi, also via Zoom. Doctor, thanks for joining us. In developed countries like the USA, the discourse is that so far, none of the most common variants show much ability to evade the effects of full vaccination. However, several have shown the ability, both in laboratories and in real life, to reinfect people who recovered from natural coronavirus infection and to infect people who have been only partly vaccinated. This case is same in Ghana, isn't it?
Thank you very much. So you wouldn't expect it to be any different. With the new variants that are coming up, you would always have that escape from the already developed immune system.
Okay.
If we take the examples that you gave, if you take the USA, for example, in the last few weeks, over 90% of the sequences that they are generating from infections are of the Delta strain, the Delta variant.
Okay.
A similar value pertains in the US. I think it's over 83%. So naturally, you would have these viruses drift away from the immune responses that are established. Of course, a lot of these infections are in persons who are not vaccinated or fully vaccinated, but there are real breakthrough infections even in fully vaccinated persons. So that is a reality. And juxtaposing that with the calendar we have for immunization, if we are going all the way to the end of 2021, those of us who were immunized right from March, it is very highly likely that getting to the tail end of the year, what your protection is against in terms of the variant will probably not be in the system. there's every likelihood that new variants are going to come up, which might be more resistant. So it's not just a matter of immunizing the entire population, but it has to be done with speed. Okay. And also to complement it with the prevention protocols, because we can immunize the whole population, and even if the vaccines are not highly effective, and we are able to bring the virus levels down to very low numbers in country, we will still have imputation. So while vaccines are very necessary and will give personal protection at a community level, I think we also need to really consider the prevention protocols and stick to them until we hear that globally elimination or eradication is on. I think we cannot relent our efforts in terms of the prevention protocols. They are very key to fighting this pandemic. Okay, so with the Delta strain actually almost overtaking the other variants, with what eye should scientists be watching closely all other variants in the system? Okay, so I know there are ongoing efforts to redesign some of these vaccines to be more cross-cutting, to be more to target more of the new variants that are coming up. So in terms of vaccination, I think that is a strategy that is being worked on that will really help against any new variants that come up. But I think, once again, at the end of the day, if you are practicing the prevention protocols, that has nothing to do with variant. Okay. So long as you are practicing those protocols, it is effective against whatever variant you would encounter out there. And that's why I continue stressing the prevention protocols. Let me bring on board a senior lecturer at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, in the person of Dr. John Amwesi, to also help us in this discussion we are having. Dr. Amwesi, thanks for your time.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
All right. So there is this word which I chanced upon in my research ahead of this interview. The word is containment. Are you in a position to help us understand what is meant by containment?
Well, thanks for that question, and greetings once again to all who are listening. Of course, I'd like to know more about the context in which you're asking about containment, but containment only means, in broad terms, when you have an outbreak and you're able to prevent the escalation in the rate at which people are getting infected, people are getting hospitalized, and people are dying. That essentially means containment. Then once you contain, then you move through to hoping to stamp it out entirely, and that could mean either elimination or eradication, depending on the kind of disease it is. So containment only means that you have stemmed the tide, if you can put it in layman's terms. I don't know if that's the context in which you're asking the question, but technically that's what containment would be.
Okay, so in the wake of not getting vaccines as is expected to help actually stem the spread of the pandemic and to prevent a lot of people from dying and all of that, is this a phenomenon to be looked out for?
Well, absolutely. The unavailability of the vaccines right now is a cause of concern. I think the Ghana Health Service DG as well as the President have touched on this extensively. We're hoping for the light at the end of the tunnel once the vaccines come in. And again, I've emphasized, and I believe the Ghana Health Service is really working towards this, to get as many people vaccinated as quickly as possible. So beyond getting the vaccines, being able to achieve that high rate of vaccination within a short period of time is really where the focus should be. Now, that's the way in which we can comprehensively contain this virus. But at this rate, looking at how the numbers have escalated over the past couple of weeks, containment becomes quite a bit of a challenge. because all diseases, especially infectious diseases, if I can put it that way, all infectious diseases, COVID-19 including, will go through what we call a natural course, which means that even if you do nothing, you will have an increase in the numbers of cases, and then it will die down on its own, even if you do nothing. You'll recall that in the early stages of the pandemic, I think in February, March 2020, the UK was going for this strategy where they were going for naturally acquired herd immunity. And so they counted their potential losses and thought that that was a better option than to, put in place what we call heavy containment measures like lockdowns and bans and all this kind of thing. But that proved to be too costly, and they had to change course. So currently, the only containment measures available to us are what was outlined in the president's speech last night. Apart from vaccination, there's really nothing more than that. My hope is that things don't get too bad to the point where the authorities will be compelled to really impose much stricter measures, which come along with all the pain that we want to avoid from lockdowns and other kinds of otherwise effective public health measures, but which are very painful to implement.
I would pose this question on the restrictions to the Director General, but let me go on with you and find out the issue of children and the vaccines, COVID-19, new variants. So far, not a lot of countries have had vaccines for the youth, younger adults, but especially in Ghana, with the issue of most or some senior high schools recording high figures of the COVID-19 pandemic in the schools, what should we be looking out for if we are waiting for vaccines for the entire country? How should we be further protecting children or younger adults?
I think it's a really great question that you ask, because we've seen how the average age of people who have been getting infected and actually getting hospitalized has dropped. This is not unique to Ghana. It's actually a scenario that has panned out all over the world, from Africa to Asia to Europe and to North America. And it's really important that we recognize that there's nothing what we call mystical about Ghana, but what pans out in other places is very well likely to pan out here as well. It is good that we pay special attention to this group, which is now considered as a vulnerable population, unlike during the earlier variants, where the elderly, the above 50s, and certainly the above 70s were considered the more susceptible population. Now, almost everybody is considered at risk.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that the young are more susceptible than the older. All we're saying is that there's been a shift, more kind of a shift to the left, where the spectrum of susceptibility has increased to include those who are much younger. What this means is that our vaccination strategy, which initially involved vaccinating the elderly and so on, should be expanded, and I believe it has been already. Dr. Boje, I believe, can speak to that, to include the younger ones, particularly those in our universities and in our secondary schools. You may recall last week that the KNUST put out a statement of fact stating just how there has been an astronomical rise in the number of COVID-19 cases on the KNUST campus. Very interestingly, this has not gone along with necessarily an increased number of hospitalizations of people with severe disease. It has not gone along with any deaths among students, which is great news so far. But the amount of the level of morbidity. I mean, before coming on this show, I was just talking to a student who has to be out of school the entire week because, I mean, she's self-isolated because she tested positive after I literally compelled her to go for a test. I'm waiting for the result of another who's gone out for testing, and hopefully this evening I'll know. I'm pretty sure it's going to be positive as well. And this every week we get a couple of students who we push for testing and it comes out positive. So the good thing really would be to ensure that we get these students vaccinated. My concern with this is the level of apathy and vaccine resistance among the youth, and particularly the educated youth in our tertiary institutions.
Yeah.
From my own analysis, interviewing and collecting data among university students, even health students, nursing students, physician assistant students, and so on, I was amazed to find a very low percentage of them are ready to take the vaccine.
Okay.
And for reasons that are totally unscientific. It tells you that even if among the educated young who are being trained as health professionals, there is such a level of apathy and lack of understanding, then we have a massive hill to climb in the general Ghanaian population. Just last week, Friday, we published an article which was looking at vaccine hesitancy. I think it's really insightful and will be very helpful to apply in planning. So it's great news. The vaccines are coming in third quarter. I believe this. I'm sure it will come in. But beyond just having them on the ground, getting those 2 shots or 1 shot into the arms of Ghanaians is what we should strategize to achieve as quickly as possible.
Okay, so I would like us to pause here, go for a very quick breather, and then when we come back, I would like Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumabwaji, to help us with what is in place to educate, especially our children in the senior high schools. Should there be these new vaccines by the third quarter, as has been promised by the president? Is there room for the young adults in senior high schools to receive their vaccination? What is being done in terms of vaccine hesitancy education? We go for this quick breather. We'll be back and continue with Good Afternoon Ghana.
The world has seen a lot of evolution in recent times. Global network facilitated by trade continues to grow stronger and forge nations closer together.
On International Trade Focus, we'll share with you the current industry, tech and commercial avenues turning the world's trade wheel. This is your gateway to international business connections and trading events. Get the inside views, vital information, trends and analysis on emerging trade giants in Ghana and beyond. International Trade Focus, the global television trade showcase, transcending barriers in creativity and innovation. Join me, Anna Spiel, as I give you a whole menu of international trade activities. International Trade Focus, your timely business hub. International Trade Focus is brought to you by GOL, ADB, Pediatric Valley Resorts and Public Elegance.
Are you tired as a consumer in Ghana when it comes to issues that confront you as a consumer? Worry no more. Kofi Capito, I'm here to give you the information, all that you need to make sure that your right is protected as a consumer. We have too many laws and agencies that should protect the right of the consumer. I'm here to give you the information that will help and assist you to get goods and services delivered to you without any worries. Watch the Capito Show on Metro TV.
Welcome back. You're still watching Good Afternoon Ghana on Metro Television with me, Sandra Ofusu Dawonu. And so we are looking at the third wave of the COVID-19 in Ghana. The president has given his 26th address. He has laid out some directives to be reinforced for the ordinary Ghanaian to try to adhere strictly to these directives to prevent getting the COVID-19 virus. And so we still have with us via Zoom Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumar Boaje. Would like to engage him now. All things being equal, Doctor, we get the vaccines by close of third quarter. Are there any measures immediately in place to consider vaccinating senior high school students with the number of cases being recorded recently?
Well, thank you very much. Let me correct this, the erroneous hype that there are so many secondary school students who have been infected. We've had a Chimota. We've had about 5 schools, if I'm going to add KNUS to it, which has a very small number of places. I'm sure Dr. Mwesi will confess. If you look at the total number of students in the school and the numbers they are talking about. So, yes, we've had 5, and secondary schools in Ghana, and SNS alone is about 800 secondary schools in Ghana. And so you can imagine what we are talking about. But we've had a deployment plan.
Okay.
Ideally, the group 4 was the youth, who at the initially were not seen as vulnerable and also not too much at risk.
Okay.
And most importantly, until recently, we didn't have vaccine for children below the age of 18.
Okay.
Currently, I think it's only Pfizer that can be given to children between the ages of 12 and 17.
Okay.
And that's why our number of people to be vaccinated was originally about 17.5. We rounded up to 20 million. But that may not necessarily give you a herd immunity, because it is about a third out of the people cannot be vaccinated. So with this situation, we will continue reviewing the situation all the time. We have had a discussion about the importance of vaccinating children of that age. But so far, it's only one vaccine that can be used for that. And so, yes, they are on the radar, but the situation we reviewed as and when, based on the total number of vaccines you have at any particular time, and what is the most prudent way of using that vaccine when it comes. Obviously, the students are a great part, because even if they are not vulnerable, they may not fall so sick, or we don't lose any of them, they don't die. They may be the source or the area where they're infecting other vulnerable people. I mean, if we had access to the vaccine, the essence is to try and vaccinate all those who are eligible to be vaccinated. And so that's the plan. But we will review the strategy based on when we get vaccine, who are the most at risk. Currently, we need to have a good control of the main hotspot of Accra and Kumasi, but that's where the virus is being harvested and being distributed. And so those are some of the things that we're trying to look at.
Okay, let me get the mind of Dr. John Amwesi on this particular issue with students in SHS and children in general when it comes to COVID-19. So, Dr. Amwesi, yes.
Well, thanks for that. With the situation in secondary schools, as DG rightly mentioned, it's a Chimota and a few others that have been singled out because there was deliberate action to go there and test. It would be strange to think that Chimota is the only secondary school. And as I said, more often than not with infectious diseases, what you see in one place is often a reflection of what may be going on elsewhere. But in terms of empirical evidence, what we have is just a handful of secondary schools, with a Chimota school perhaps being the forefront. The good news, actually, from these is that we've not had people being admitted or severely ill, and we've not had students dying. I think it's just great news. The other side of it is with the KNUST. I mean, I would actually defer to the statement that was put out by the school authorities, and the language they used was quite emphatic: an astronomical rise in the number of cases. I did not write that. It came directly from the communications office of the university where I sit. So I would like to confirm that statement as being what it was. Astronomical, I think, is just what it is. Of course, you can look at it in different terms, numbers of people, proportion of the students. This is all possible, but it is at levels for where there is concern And as I mentioned again, and put in context, we've not had severely ill students who've had to, be in hospital under intensive care. We've not had any students dying, and this is definitely great news. I just want also to touch on one thing that DG made mention of, which was the numbers of vaccines that we need to come in, the changes to that number, the initial 20 million, which was based on the cutoff age for vaccination.
Okay.
DG, I think one possible saving grace that we have would actually be the current seroprevalence. From the work that we're doing currently, we're seeing around about 40% in Kumasi. In Accra, which is actually ongoing, as you know, we're inching close to almost 50%. That's not bad at all. What this means is that if we can get our seroprevalence estimates in order, we may just actually need lower number of vaccines to achieve the herd immunity, and that won't be bad news. So as we pursue a vaccine strategy, I think we should also ramp up our seroprevalence research, and that can give us a good ballpark figure and inform our strategy to achieve the herd immunity. So there's some good news in there.
Okay, so in ramping up a vaccine strategy, let me get some final words from the President of the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, in the person of Benjamin Kwame Boche. How prepared is the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana to locally manufacture COVID-19 vaccines?
Thank you, but let me say that the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana may not necessarily be a manufacturer of vaccines or maybe a manufacturer of any products, but we have a number of our members who are into pharmaceutical manufacturing, and I will take it from that angle, and say that right, like I said from the beginning, manufacturing depends on research and research findings that will have to be turned around into products. But I dare also say that preparing to manufacture completely will not be tomorrow, and therefore we might have to, as DG has already indicated, look at mobilizing from wherever we can now to get as many people vaccinated as possible. But on the manufacturing side, I have stated that for now, in the short to medium term, what can be done is contract manufacturing, and this is what is being done for most of the big pharma, the J&J and Pfizer and so on, are partnering countries where these facilities exist to do bulk breaking into usable units. And in Ghana, some companies are ready. They have sterile manufacturing plants already. They are doing small volume injectables, and they have the human resource and can easily, with a little of technology transfer, be able to begin this process whilst we go into the medium to long term, where we are thinking about manufacturing from scratch. So this is what I want to say for now.
Final words from Director General Ghana Health Service. The President has reiterated the directives he's given over this period of time. He's talking about church services or religious activities being limited to 2 hours, and no after funeral gatherings, eating, and all those sorts of things. These are directives that we've had in the past, and they've all accumulated in what figures we have now. Moving forward, what should the ordinary Ghanaian do? Should these directives be fully enforced using other means? Doctor, kindly unmute. Doctor, kindly unmute.
Yes.
Thank you. Your final words. Yes, thank you.
I will just thank you very much for the opportunity. I think as Ghanaians, you must take that responsibility that you have to protect yourself and protect your loved ones. And that's the only way the mindset is. We also need to look at our community leaders must also come up and also be part of the people, the influencers who will encourage people to adhere to the protocols. We want to ensure that there is some level of some enforcement or some quick reminders that will let people appreciate that these things will be done. We hope that maybe information service may be doing some periodic mass communication for people to also get to know that the disease is still real. Sometimes we still get people who even think that the virus is not correct and that we are hyping up the numbers so that some country will give us money. I think all these things are nothing we should take for granted. We must continue our education, and I think that will be the most sustainable way, because if you want the police to be arresting people for non-compliance, I don't know where they're going to get them. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Dr. Patrick Kumabwaje is Director General of the Ghana Health Service. We have been talking about the third wave in the country of the coronavirus pandemic. He is saying that the media has a role to play. And so the media, we need to also do some advocacy, just as foreign media is doing for their various countries. This has been Good Afternoon Ghana.
Metro TV, insightful and inspiring moments.